Good day, everyone. I am Jose Carlos Simon Lapas, together with my group mates from Group 3, Rachel Javier, Jonah Mangrobang, and Geraldine Sapitan. We are here to discuss and answer some questions about Amanda Doranilla's article entitled Dumping Ground for Rubbish. Now, to proceed with our presentation, we have Geraldine Sapitan here to discuss the report's objectives.
For the objectives, analyze the dumping ground for rubbish written by Amando Dornila and answer questions 6 to 10. Question number 6. What issues related to the Filipino electorate may be deduced from the article? First, it has become the target of ambition of people whose qualifications are better suited in places other than the legislature. So, according to the article, the Senate is a magnet for diverse ambitions because, among other public offices, it puts up the least rigorous test for admission. Therefore, celebrities, comedians, and other well-known personalities can run for this position. This is a troubling issue that is very common in the Philippines because candidates with little to no knowledge of governance can be elected to positions in the country. Celebrities already have a significant edge in the election. They don't have to spend money or time cultivating name recognition like regular candidates since people believe that they already know who they are. As a result, candidates who are more suited for the position and with more knowledge about the job had little chance to win against them. So next, use as a stepping stone for a higher position. It was also stated in the article that what makes the Senate attractive is that it is a pathway for the presidency, a path carved for political tradition. I think many people are always trying to be on top of each other and have more power because power means you can control others and it provides temporary happiness. Human desire never ends, and when someone already tasted what having power can do, it will be hard to stop wanting more. In this case, senators will run for presidency since it will give them more power, and this became their goal instead of being a good leader. Third is Filipinos still vote for candidates with bad track records. Filipinos vote to determine who will govern them, but not necessarily how they will be governed. They tend to focus more on charisma and mass appeal rather than the important ones, which is the policy platforms or track record, which is composed of their past performances, achievements, or failures. They tend to easily fall for empty promises of some candidates, the reason why the Philippines remained where it was. We never seem to learn from past lessons. Lastly, other candidates running for Senate to fulfill their diverse purposes in life. So, this can be seen in the article when the author stated that one contender only ran for this government position to vindicate the name of his father, who is the indisputable holder of the record of having been the president who did the most damage to his country. Next, another contender seeks to reform society through membership in the Senate. Electing this type of people will not do any good to the country because their purpose for running is for their own desires and not working for the growth of the society and citizens of the country.
Moving on to the seventh question. How relevant is the essay to the 2022 election? The essay stated that the Filipino people have been normalizing entertainers run and win for politics. Academic background and achievements do not really take up their glory during campaigns because Filipinos focus more on the amusement brought by these actors, athletes, influencers, and such. Just like the recent elections, the top three Senate winners, which are Robin Padilla, Lauren Legarda, and Rafi Tulfo, are all part of the entertainment industry. No one can convince us that these people are deserving rather than those candidates with outstanding political backgrounds and actually as knowledgeable platforms. According to the essay, this approach began with the breach opened by the election of an actor in the 60s, establishing the bridgehead for entertainers, athletes, clowns, and other pretenders to power to follow suit. Just like also in the 2022 presidential election, one of them is an athlete and another is a former actor. Having tasted success, he now can't be stopped from aspiring for the presidency. Another was catapulted to the Senate from the basketball arena. This part of the article screams Manny Pacquiao. One contender seeks to vindicate the name of his father, who is undisputed holder of the record of having been the president who did the most damage to his country. In the 2022 election, Marcos Jr. sought vindication to clear out their family's reputation and erase the dark era of martial law from people's minds. This could also be applied to the elected senator, Jingoy Estrada, the son of Arab Estrada. Among the senators of the 19th Congress, 8 of them have been part of the entertainment industry. The Senate's intellectual standards have been lowered, and this downgrading is a result of the rise in the anti intellectual wave in the country. This has become evident as we can see that the country is suffering from complex issues with no solutions proposed. A lot of corrupt politicians are still in the office, and entertainers invade the positions without having idea what to do with the country's problems. The Senate has become a pathway to the presidency, a path carved by political tradition. This is probably the real reason the Senate collects more rubbish than any other office.
For the eighth question, comment on the tone of the essay. Does the tone help in communicating the author's point effectively or not? Then explain your answer. Through reading the text Dumping Ground for Rubbish, created by Amanda Dornilla, the tone assists in communicating the author's point effectively. We concluded that the tone that is utilized in the text is formal. In our observations, the author chose concise words fluently and precisely to address the facts and scrutinies. Moreover, the text integrates structured language, excellent reading skills, and it further provides factual information that can be validated. Lastly, the tone helps in convincing or encouraging the readers as it traces their focus as the text presents enticing concepts.
For question number 9, point out what you note as fallacies, if there are any, and briefly explain why there are so. From my observation, the statement starting with this part of this essay, it began with the breach opened by the election of an actor in the 60s, establishing the vision for entertainers, athletes, clowns, and other pretenders to have to power to follow suit. The entry of celebrities in the Senate was a defining moment in the legislative history of this country. The Senate's loss of virginity as an intellectual body against the onslaught of populism was as devastating as the infiltration of the Greek wooden horse inside the walls of Troy. This statement is a slippery slope. This policy pertains to a conclusion based on the premise that if we allow entertainers enter the politics, then eventually through a series of small steps, it will happen again, and it will be normalized. So, if we don't want incompetent politicians to run for office, we must not allow incompetent people to run for office, and worse, let them win.
Now, for the second fallacy, the text is founded on the idea that the Philippine Senate used to be good, and that it is now quote unquote bad, or riddled with incompetent or incompatible individuals. Now, this elaboration can be demonstrated through means of comparison and enumerating the mismatch of skill sets of the members of the Senate and what the Senate actually needs. However, the author committed a logical fallacy, a fallacy of the golden past, which can be seen in the 69th to the 71st line of the text, which reads, where in the past a recto, a laurel, and the like would be assured of election to the Senate as a check to the impulsiveness and the maturity of the House. Today, today, comedians can now easily pass the admission test.
Furthermore, in the first statement, there is also a fallacy mentioned. The statement was from an illustrious origin as a political arena graced by intellectuals and Filipinos with outstanding accomplishments in public service and the professions. It has become the target of ambition of a number of people whose qualifications are better suited in places other than the legislature. I therefore conclude that it is a hasty generalization. With the statement, the author generalizes the people who run for Senate have other intentions than fulfilling the role or responsibilities of the position the candidate wanted. The author concluded without sufficient evidence, or in other words, the author jumps into conclusion before having all the relevant information.
Another hasty generalization policy that we spotted is the statement. What also makes it more attractive is that it is a pathway for the presidency, a path carved for by political tradition. This is probably the real reason the Senate collects more rubbish than any other office. This is a conclusion based on insufficient or biased evidence. In other words, you are rushing to a conclusion that what makes the Senate position attractive is it being a pathway to presidency. Essentially, you can't make a claim and say that it collects more rubbish than any other office if you have only an example or two as evidence.
For the 10th question, refer to the basic qualities of an effectively defended position. Which of these qualities have been achieved by the writer? Explain your answer. So, in assessing the text, we noticed that the author did some things well and some not so well in terms of effectively defending their position. Now, using the principles of the basic qualities of an effectively defended position, we have determined that the author enumerated historically accurate and verifiable facts when they were referring to previous senators and politicians in the Philippines, such as Rogelio de la Rosa, Joseph Estrada, and Manny Pacquiao, and how their backgrounds are far from what one would want in a senator for their country. The author also eloquently showed the status quo of the Philippine Senate upon the time which the text was written. And of course, upon reading the text, one can see the author's honest and sincere concerns with regard to the corruption of the Senate and how it is being driven away from its true form. However, the author also failed to do some things well, like making logical conclusions and recognizing the limitations of logic, evidenced by the numerous logical fallacies committed in the text, such as slippery slope, fallacy of the golden pass, and hasty generalization. Furthermore, the author used ambiguous language when referring to references where the audience might get confused. Now, see line 59 to 62 of the text, where the author likens the politics of the Philippine Senate to a play entitled Boulevard, but then later on states that the reference might be foreign to the readers because it has not been popularized in the Philippines. Now, that's all for our presentation. We hope you enjoyed it and learned a thing or two. Thank you so much, and again, we are Group 3.